Since I've been governor, we've made tough choices. For example, we got 17,000 fewer government jobs, government positions. We've got now our state budget is 26% smaller. I made it absolutely clear we're not going to raise taxes, but look at what's happened. Per capita income, where our ranking is now higher than it's been in 80 years. 25 years in a row, we've been losing population since I've been governor. 5 years in a row, we've had more people move into the state rather than leave the state.
Phil Mickelson deserves a lot of credit for bringing this front and center by saying, by the way, and I'll just paraphrase, I'm probably going to have to leave California and do some thinking because I'm giving away 60% of my income. You are looking to do what California is not, and that is knock their state tax down to zero. How do you make up that revenue if you want to join Florida and Texas?
You know, in Louisiana, we've got the fourth lowest state local tax burden, according to the Tax Foundation. We're actually a little bit lower than Texas even. But we rank 32nd worst in our tax code. Part of the reason is we have 468 exemptions, loopholes and credits. I'll give you an example. We have a corporate income tax in this state. We collect $2 billion. We then give back $1.8 billion, so only net $200 million. So part of how you make up that revenue is you get rid of these loopholes, these credits, these giveaways, and you say, why are we taking money from people's pockets, sending it to Baton Rouge, and then giving it back to special interest groups, to people who have lobbyists? Some of those loopholes, credits, people don't even remember why they were put there in the first place.
So I believe you got to make up $3.3 billion worth of revenue, and a lot of people are concerned that, hey, he's going to raise sales tax, so when I go to buy a rug or anything else, that's where I'm going to get slammed. How do you address that?
We might have to raise the sales tax a little bit to make up some of these dollars, but at the end of the day, right, Louisiana families are going to be better off. A consumption tax, philosophically, I think, is better than an income tax. I don't think you should be punishing people when they're making more money, when they're saving more money, when they're investing their money. What worries me so much about Washington, D.C. is they're worried about growing government jobs, not the private sector jobs. Getting rid of the income tax allows us to grow private sector jobs.
The main thing that's really weighing down, the thing that you're trying to get the president's attention on, and that is Medicaid. You want to sit down with him with some Republican governors. What kind of response have you gotten from President Obama? Because they're asking you to go with, in your words, a 1960s model instead of a model that you think will be effective. You studied Medicare for 2 years just on your own before you got this job.
Governors know what it takes to make Medicaid work. It isn't outdated. It is an ineffective model. It's based on 1960s medicine. It makes no sense to add 16, 17 million people into a program that's already inefficient, already breaking state budgets. Why not have, instead of a one-size-fits-all benefits package, why not tailor the benefits? Let the states decide how they want to do eligibility, how they want to do benefits. These are the kinds of ideas that would collectively could save both the states and federal government billions of dollars and better serve our people.
You've seen this president now for 4.5 years. Do you believe you're ever going to get a return phone call?
You know, I'm going to continue to be optimistic, but the reality is I'd love to see the law repealed and replaced. At the very least, they need to sit down and listen to governors and hear our thoughts about how they can make Medicaid more effective for all of our beneficiaries and for all of our taxpayers.
You know, we're over here in New Orleans, but a couple of days ago we had a chance to go to the governor's mansion over in Baton Rouge to talk to Governor Jindal. Last hour we heard from the governor about how Washington can learn by the way he's running his state of Louisiana. Now we focus on the Republican Party. Listen.
We've got to stop being the stupid party. And I'm serious. It's time for a new Republican Party that talks like adults. It's time for us to articulate our plans and our visions for America in real terms.
So you give a major address to the Republican Party, and it's picked up by everyone a couple of days later, and everyone's picking out one thing as if you only said 2 sentences, and those sentences are, we have to stop being the stupid party. In what way do you believe that the Republicans have the right message, they just don't have the right messaging?
Well, I made it very clear in that speech, I don't think we need to change our principles, but we have to apply our principles to specific policy ideas where we don't insult the intelligence of the voters. The president did a great job this last election trying to divide and scare people.
We know our ideas. We know they work. We also know the ideas of the other guys, they don't work. Mr. Romney's asking you to pay more so that people like him get a tax cut. Does that sound like the kind of future that our country can afford?
Bottom line, in our society, MTV society, I'm going to remember that granny going over the cliff with that Republican tossing him more than, hey, I'd like to show you my restructuring of Medicare. How do you dumb it down and win an election?
So the Medicare ads, the class warfare, the so-called war on women, I think we as Republicans need to reject that. Reject identity politics, reject this divisiveness, and instead appeal to what really unites us as Americans. I think people get it. I think, you know, not every person follows every budget chart or knows every decimal point in the budget debt, But they do know this. Instinctively, they know my family can't spend more money than I take in, so how does the government do that? Instinctively, they know there's no government that's been able to spend or borrow its way into prosperity. I think we need to honor the American people's intelligence and talk to them like adults.
Anyone that talks to you sees your passion for interest for these subjects and looks in your background. If anybody wants to be a candidate for president 2016 like yourself, when do you think the decision has to be made?
Anybody on the Republican side even thinking or talking about running for president in 2016, I've said needs to get their head examined. And the reason I say that is we've lost 2 presidential elections in a row. We need to be winning the debate of ideas, then we'll win elections. A majority of the American voters think the government's trying to do too much. They want smaller government, yet they still voted for President Obama. That means we're not winning the conversation. We're not presenting our ideas. We're not in that debate as well as we should be.
Why do you need your head examined to run for president? Why doesn't somebody run for president like yourself by winning that debate of ideas?
Look, the country doesn't need 4 years of nonstop presidential. We just inaugurated a new term of this president's second term. You can't imagine if Ronald Reagan were alive today, if he were running for office today, this is what he would say about that poor person that was on food stamps or on welfare or signing up for unemployment. He'd say, this poor woman wants a better quality of life for herself and for her children. He would honor the dignity of that person and say, I can provide her a better economic future by putting in place policies that actually work. We need to be having that kind of debate. We need to show people that there's a different future that goes back to our roots, that's all about independence. It's not about government expansion, not about government interference in our lives. It's about individual Americans providing for their families and doing better in a growing economy.
He might not have decided to run yet, but he does have a Congress background. He did work with President Bush in the administration, and now he's a successful governor. Pretty impressive resume, guys. Impressive.